Hello everyone, welcome back to All About the Sound, making learning English easier with the 3P approach. We are continuing with our third P, phonics, and our word work. And we are going to today discuss how to break multi-syllable words down into the syllables we need to work with when we do the beginning, middle, and ending approach of our word work. So a multi-syllable word means it is a word that has more than one syllable. It is a word that has more than one vowel sound. So we break our syllables down, or chunk as it's sometimes called in the lower grades, with a recognition of the vowel sounds we are hearing. Our vowel sounds, remember, are represented by a grapheme, a vowel letter, A, E, I, O, U, or a vowel team, a team of different letters used to make that one vowel sound. So when we begin today, we are remembering that we are talking about phonics and chunking words, those multi-syllable words, into their word parts, vowel-containing word parts, their word rooms, if we are remembering that apartment analogy. If the word is what we're talking about in our word work, every apartment in an apartment building has more than one room. Well, some have more than one room. Some words, as we know, only have one syllable, one vowel sound, and they're pretty easy to work with. But of course, more often than not, in the English language, we are going to run across words that have more than one syllable, more than one room in the apartment. So we need to break down the word and work with one syllable at a time as we proceed with our word work. Are you ready to learn a little bit more about decoding and phonics when we talk about breaking down or chunking words into their syllables? Let's begin. So again, we are talking about phonics. Phonics is, again, most of the things we've been talking about in the book, all about the sound, and these presentations, is about phonemes and the sounds we're hearing. In phonemic awareness and phonological awareness, we are only focusing on the sound. But when we get to this third P, phonics, we're also looking at the graphemes, the letters and letter combinations we are seeing when we're reading or when we're needing to write a word, as well as the sound. So we are talking about phonics when we talk about syllable division. We're also talking about decoding. We are breaking down words to get to their sounds, their graphemes, and their morphemes. Morphemes are the meanings, the basic unit of meaning we find in each word. That is decoding. That is why you are seeing the mallet there. And we also are doing word work. We are taking the context of what we're reading, coming across the difficult or challenging English word we are needing to look a little bit more deeply at, taking it and breaking it apart so that we can work at it one syllable at a time, one vowel-containing word part at a time, as we do the beginning, middle, and ending approach to that word part. That is word work. We are dealing again in this particular presentation with multi-syllable words. Multi meaning many, syllable words. Many words in English have more than one syllable. They have more than one vowel sound. And we need to be able to break the word down into its syllables, its vowel-containing word parts, or its word rooms before we can begin our word work. So again, in our word work, we need to be able to break the word down and deal with one syllable at a time. One syllable at a time. A syllable, again, is a word room in our apartment analogy, or it's a vowel containing word part. A vowel containing word part is a syllable in a word. Some words, remember, only have one syllable, and they are much easier to work with. But once we learn how to break words, all words, down into their syllables, we are still dealing only with one syllable at a time. A syllable, remember, must contain a vowel sound. A syllable must contain a vowel sound. If there is nothing but consonant sounds, it is not a syllable. A syllable must contain a vowel sound. And the other thing to remember is that a syllable can only contain one vowel sound. If there is more than one vowel sound, then there is more than one syllable. A syllable can only contain one vowel sound. So we are dealing with phonics, so we have to remember it's all about the sound. And when we are dividing into syllables, it is all about the vowel sound, the heart of the word. It is that we're wanting to hear, that what we're looking for in its grapheme, and that which we will be dividing our syllables by. So it's all about the vowel sound. Syllable division is all about the vowel sound, and our vowels, remember, can be long. A vowel sound can say its own name. We may hear the A in a word, the E, the I, the O, and the U or the oo in a word. If we are hearing those sounds, regardless of the grapheme we're seeing, regardless of the way the word is spelled, if we're hearing A, E, I, O, U in the word, then we are dealing with a long vowel sound. If we are hearing anything other than that for our vowel sound, like a or a I or a oo, something that is not long, then we are dealing with short vowels. Okay? So we can be dealing with long vowel sounds or short vowel sounds. And knowing if it is a long vowel sound or a short vowel sound can help us chunk those words, those multi-syllable words, into smaller word parts, smaller vowel-containing word parts. So once again, in this presentation, we are dealing with multi-syllable words. Multi means more than one, and a syllable, of course, is our vowel-containing word part or our word room. Some words, as we know, contain only one syllable. Therefore, they only contain one vowel sound. We do not need to chunk or divide these words any further. Such words that contain only one vowel sound and are considered single syllable words are cat, sprain, and height. Though you're seeing many letters in height, we only have one vowel sound. Though you're seeing two letters in sprain as our grapheme, we only have one vowel sound. So let's move on. Many words contain more than one syllable, therefore more than one vowel sound. These are multi-syllable words, and yes, we do need to chunk. Our goal is to work at one syllable at a time in our word work. Our goal is to work with one vowel-containing word part at a time in our word work. So we do need to chunk words like important or escape. We can see in important that we have several different vowel sounds, right? We have 3 actually, and therefore 3 syllables in this multi-syllable word. We are going to be working with 3 syllables, 1 syllable at a time. In escape, we have 2 vowel sounds, so we'll be working with 2 syllables, 1 syllable at a time. We're still only working at 1 syllable at a time, but in order to do that, we must be able to break our multi-syllable words down into syllables. So there are some things we need to keep in mind when we are breaking multi-syllable words down into syllables. We must first of all determine if it is a multi-syllable word. If we are hearing more than one vowel sound, it is a multi-syllable word. If we're only hearing one syllable, one vowel sound, it is a one-syllable word and we do not need to chunk. So we are going to listen for the phonemes when we say that word out loud. And do you remember how we count it? We can jaw drop with every syllable, or we can clap the syllables we're hearing out. When we are reading and writing, or reading and decoding, we are going to be looking at the graphemes, the letters or letter combinations that represent the sounds those words are making. So we are going to be looking at graphemes, the vowel letters or vowel theme combinations that are used to represent those sounds. We begin by underlining the vowel grapheme that we are seeing in the word we are reading. We find the vowel letters or themes that represent the vowel sounds and underline them. We can look at the word regain. Regain. As you can see, I underline the first E. That makes a long E sound, and we will learn why in a minute. Usually when a syllable is open-ended, the vowel sound we're hearing at the end is long. We will hear the vowel saying its name. The E from re, the first syllable of regain, is long. But regardless of that, we've underlined the E and we've underlined the A-I. So I have 2 underlined vowels or vowel themes there. That means I'm hearing 2 vowel phonemes because I have 2 graphemes, 2 vowel phonemes, and therefore I have 2 syllables. So the first thing we do is underline the graphemes that are representing the sounds that we are hearing. And remember, in English, these vowel themes may not appear the way we assume they should. We may see more letters than we think we should be seeing. We see themes and combinations of letters often to make our vowel sounds. Unless, of course, the vowel is short. If the vowel is a short sound, we will just see one letter. Let's go on. Remember that the magic E is silent. There will be no need to underline the magic E in words. We'll be discussing magic E and vowel themes and vowels in much greater depth in the upcoming PowerPoints. But for now, just know that the magic E is the E after a consonant that makes the vowel before that consonant say its name. So when we look at escape, the cape, the second syllable, cape, has an A underlined. The E makes that A say its name. So instead of having cap, hearing cap, I'm hearing the A sound, so I hear cape, cape. Irregardless, what we are doing to begin with is underlining the graphemes that we're seeing that represent a vowel sound. I represent the first E. That first E represents the vowel sound. So I underline that. And then I underline the A. But because the E at the end is a magic E, we do not hear it. It makes no sound. That's why it is not underlined. We are dealing with phonics and all about the sound, remember. So we are underlining the phonemes we are hearing through the graphemes we are seeing. E does not make a sound, so we will not underline it. We could put an X through it if that helps to make sure we know that it is silent and we are not hearing it. Let's move on. If there are two consonants after the first vowel, we separate between the consonants. If there are two consonants after the first vowel sound, we separate between the consonants. Let's look at the word summit. I climbed to the top of the mountain. I reached the summit. 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 As you can see, I underline the U and I underline the I. We have how many syllables? 2. I have 2 graphemes underlined, so we have 2 syllables. I'm separating between 2 consonants. So if I see 2 consonants after my first syllable, my first vowel sound, we separate there. So we have some as 1 syllable and mit as the 2nd syllable. We separate between 2 consonants that are together. If the syllable is open, and an open syllable, remember, has no consonant wall at the beginning, or it has no consonant wall at the ending. If there is no consonant wall at the beginning or no consonant wall at the ending, those vowels tend to say their own name. And that is important because if that first vowel says its own name, I will separate right after the first vowel sound. If it was a short vowel and it wasn't saying its own name, I would not separate after the vowel. A syllable must have a vowel sound, and it can only have 1 vowel sound. So E can only stand on its own if it is a long vowel sound. So we have ego. Ego. Your ego is very big. You are very vain. Ego. We can break that down by underlining, first of all, the vowel grapheme E, that's 1, and the vowel grapheme O, that's 2. We know we have 2 vowel sounds, therefore 2 syllables that we need to divide. Where do we divide? Ego. E is saying its own name. It is a long vowel. So I can separate after the E and we can have ego. Ego. Now go, the 2nd syllable, is also an open syllable and it too ends with a long vowel sound. We hear the O in go. Ego. So just remember for this little rule, if the vowel sound, if we have an open syllable that begins with a vowel and that vowel sound is long, we will divide after that sound. Hope that makes a little sense. As we move on, when vowels are separated by single consonants, try first to separate after the first vowel and before the consonant. When vowels are separated by a single consonant, try first to separate after the first vowel and before the consonant. Let's look at the word metal. Metal. Let's underline our E, which is the first grapheme. Let's underline our A, which is the second vowel grapheme, so we know we have two vowel sounds and therefore two syllables. But where do we divide? A lot of times division is trial and error. We have to try it first and see if it works. This is one of those times that applies. So we have the two vowel sounds. We have the E and the A graphemes separated by one consonant wall, and that is the D. The first thing we're going to try to do then is separate between the first vowel and the first consonant. So we will try ME for one syllable and DAL for another. Let's sound that out. Me, dull. Because remember, if my consonant ends with if my syllable ends with a vowel sound, that vowel sound will say its own name. So we will hear me instead of meh, me, and then dull, me dull, me dull. Does that sound correct? No, it doesn't. So we tried it first by separating between the first vowel and the first consonant. It didn't work. So then we will try separating after the consonant. If that doesn't sound right, try splitting after the consonant. So again, we have metal. We have the E underlined for our first vowel sound. We have the A underlined for our second vowel sound. And we tried dividing between the M and the D, the E and the D, and that did not work. So now we'll try dividing between the D and the A. Med-al, medal, metal. Does that not sound a lot better? Yes. So once again, sometimes this syllable division in multi-syllable words will mean some trial and error. Let's move on. When a word ends in LE, which will make the ul sound, it will end with ul, count back 3 and split. Count back 3 and split? Well, let's look at the word rubble. Rubble, R-U-B-B-L-E. Let's look for our vowel graphemes. The first one is the U. We will underline that. The second one is an E. It is not a silent E. There's too many consonants in front of it, so it is not a silent E. It is a necessary vowel. So we put an underline underneath that E. Now we have two vowel sounds, therefore two syllables. Where do we divide those syllables? Well, we start with the E, L, B. We're going to count back. So 1 is the E, 2 is the L, 3 is the B, so I separate before that B. I end with three letters at the end, and that is a syllable. Bull. Bull is my syllable. We now have rubble. Rubble. There is another rule that applies here other than the ul sound and counting back 3. We know that the rubble consists of two consonant walls between my vowels. I have a U followed by two consonant walls. I will divide between those. So we have two syllables following two rules for division. Ready to continue. We need to keep something called the consistent syllable. A consistent syllable is a syllable that doesn't change and we do not tear it apart. We need to keep these consistent syllables together. Two very common consistent syllables that you will see in the English language are ch and shun. Ch and shun. T-U-R-E and T-I-O-N. We will not divide those. We will keep them as one syllable. So as soon as you see ch in a word, as in signature, we know we are not removing it. We're keeping that as one syllable. We're dividing before the T. As soon as you see sh in a word, we know we're not going to divide that up. We'll divide before that T. So let's look at the word nation. 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 We have T-I-O-N. We're going to keep that as one syllable so we know we are dividing before the T. And that also applies to our long vowel sound, doesn't it? N-A by itself, and when that becomes a syllable, it becomes an open syllable ending with a vowel sound. If an open syllable ends with a vowel sound, it must make a long sound. Are we hearing A in nation? Yes, we are. So we are dividing and keeping the T-I-O-N in this word together by putting the division before the T, but we're also applying it to the long vowel sound rule for open syllable words or open syllable word parts. We also have nature, and the same thing applies. Nature. T-U-R-E is a consistent syllable that we will keep together. We'll make the division before the T. And what happens with our open syllable, first syllable, ne? It makes the A sound at the end. We hear that A. Nature. Nature. So it applies to two rules. We also keep something called our control vowel phrases together. We will discuss control vowels when we talk about our vowels in the middle of our word parts. But just know that control vowels are the sound we hear when follows an E, an I, or a U. And it is also the OR sound we hear when follows an O. It controls the sound of that O. And it is also the R sound when follows an A. So if it's a vowel controlled phrase, we will see A, E, I, O, U followed by an R. So we do not separate those. Okay, so the vowel sound will actually contain the R in it when we underline. So we have important, and we break important down by first of all underlining the vowel graphemes that we are seeing. We're seeing the I, so we underline that. We are seeing the OR as a unit, so we underline that. And we are seeing the A as a vowel grapheme, and we underline that. So we've underlined 3 vowel graphemes. That means there's 3 vowel sounds. That means there are 3 syllables in important. And as you can see, I highlighted the OR just so you know that we keep our vowel controlled vowel phrases together, our control vowel phrases together. So we've discussed a lot of these little rules and idiosyncrasies to dividing our multisyllable words, but we really will not get the hang of it until we practice. And I can't say enough that learning English is all about the practice. It's not about perfection. We need to make mistakes. I have been speaking English all my life, and as you can probably tell by these videos, I still make lots of mistakes. It is in recognizing that we maybe could improve on the words we are pronouncing or understanding that allow us to learn English. So practice, 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 and don't beat yourself up if you are not perfect at it yet. It will come. Yes, it will, one step at a time, one word at a time, one syllable at a time, and one vowel sound at a time. So let's practice. Let's practice with some words that we will divide together to see if we can understand the rules that we've talked about. The first word I'm giving you is sitting. He is sitting in the chair. Sitting. S-I-T-T-I-N-G. There are 6 letters. How many vowel sounds do we need to underline, and where do we underline? Where are the vowel graphemes in this word? The first one, of course, is the short I in sit. So I underline the I for the first one, And there's also an other I in the second one. So I see two I's that I've underlined, and therefore I have how many syllables? Two. Two vowel graphemes representing two phonemes mean two syllables. Where do we divide? What rule will we follow here? Our first vowel sound, is it long or short? It's short. It's short. So I know I'm not going to end after the I, before the T. And what do I have? What kind of vowels do I have? I have two double consonant vowels or two consonant vowels between my vowels. So what do? I divide between the two consonant vowels after the first vowel. So what's it going to look like? It's going to look like this. My first syllable is sit. My second syllable is ting. Sit, ting. Make sense? Good job. Let's move on to the different word. Different. Different. Let's go for our vowel graphemes. Where do we underline? Can you tell? Yes, we underline under the I. We underline under the ER. And we underline under the second E. So we have made three underlines representing three graphemes, which represent three phonemes, which means there's three syllables. But where do we divide these three syllables? Let's look at the first one. Different. Not long, it's short. And what do we see? A double consonant vowel. We see two F's together separating the I from the E in the second one. So where do we divide? We divide between the two F's. But we have three syllables. We've only divided one. What do we do next? Do we separate the E and the R? No, it's a vowel-controlled vowel sound. So we are going to make our division after that R, between the R and the second E. What would it look like? It will look like this. And as you can see, I highlighted that vowel-controlled vowel sound, so we will know that that's why it's together, even though we're seeing a consonant. Different. Different. What about transition? Can you underline those vowels or those graphemes that represent the vowel sounds? Right. We underline the A between the R and the N. We underline the I between the S and the T. And we underline the I-O at the end. That I-O makes one vowel sound. It is a grapheme. We do not divide it. So we've underlined the A, the I. Oh, my I didn't get underlined, sorry, but it's meant to be. It's italics. And my I-O. Why didn't I separate my I and my O? Because it belongs to one of those consistent syllables, shin. So shin, we know automatically is a syllable by itself. We'll separate before the T. Right? Now, we separate it between the N and the S because we always separate those double consonant vowels after the first syllable. I had two consonants together between my A and my I, so I separate between the N and the S. So what's it going to look like? It's going to look like this. Transition. Transition. Good job. Let's move on to signature. 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 Where do we underline? Where do we underline our vowel sounds? The first one is the I, so I underline that. The second one is the A, so I underline that. I underline the U as well. Why do I not underline the E? Because it is a magic key and therefore it is silent. I could put an X through that E. I have been having trouble drawing the X's in using the drawing machine here, so I haven't done it, but you could put an X through that E as well. We divide it, first of all. Why do we divide? Where do we divide a word for the first syllable from the second syllable? Well, we have a vowel sound that's short and is followed by two consonant vowels. So we're going to separate those consonant vowels. So we're going to divide between the G and the N. That is our first one. We also have one of those consistent syllables, ch. So do we divide after the T or before the T? We divide before the T. And this is what it will look like. Signature. Now, na it's an open syllable, that second syllable, but I'm hearing a short A, or am I? The correct pronunciation of this is signature, but too often we will pronounce it with a schwa syllable because it is the middle syllable, so it will not get that A sound. But technically it does have that A sound, so this is correct. Remember that our open syllables should either end with a long vowel sound, the vowel saying its name, or open with the vowel sound if they begin with the vowel sound. So a long vowel sound if they begin. So that's just why we sometimes see if it's in the middle, it will lose its full pronunciation and it will be said to be schwa or short or less stressed. What word have we got here? Attempt. Attempt. Where will you underline? Remember, our first step is always underline the graphemes that represent the vowel sounds. So we would underline under the A and we would underline under the E, meaning what? Meaning there are two vowel sounds. And if there's two vowel sounds, there's how many syllables? 2 syllables. We have 2 graphemes, 2 phonemes, 2 syllables. Where do we make our division? Oh, let's first of all look at how it looks when we underline. Now, where do we make our division? If I look at my vowel sounds, I see an A separated by 2 consonants before the E. 2 vowels separated by 2 consonants. Where do we make our division? Right on, we split between those 2 consonants. And that's probably the most steadiest of the rules, is to separate between 2 consonants. Attempt. Attempt. Very good. Now we have this one, syllable. And that's what we're talking about today, aren't we? Syllables. Syllables. Where do we underline? I kind of did this one to trick you just a bit because I want you to remember that that Y, though it's a consonant, can often be used to replace the I sound or the E sound in the English word. So where are we underlining? We're underlining under the Y, and we're underlining under the A. And why did I underline under the E again? Because I have that LE that makes the ul sound. That E is necessary for that sound. It is not silent. So, where do we separate? If Y is my vowel sound and A is representing a vowel sound, and I got 2 consonant vowels in the middle, what do? I separate those consonant vowels. So our first division will be between the 2 L's. Now, to get to the end, what do I have to do? I have that ul sound, that LE. We count backwards. So the E is 3, the L is 2, the B is 1. So we make our separation before the B. BLE will be the ending syllable. What will it look like? It will look like this. Syllable. We've broken it down, and then we will begin, once we break down our words into syllables, we'll begin working with the first syllable, moving to the second syllable, and then the third syllable. We will look at the beginning, middle, and ending of each of these word parts or vowel-containing word parts or word rooms or syllables, and we'll go from there. If I look at sil, in syllable, for example, I know I have a single consonant vowel, S, at the beginning. My vowel sound is represented by the Y. It's a short actually. And then we have L, another consonant vowel. When I move to my second syllable, I have the L sound represented by the L grapheme. And I have a sound, short A sound represented by the A. Even though, again, you say if it's a syllable that ends or opens, and ends with a vowel sound, it should have a long A, and technically it should, but because it's in the middle, we're going to be dealing with something called schwa, or the less stressed syllable, and we will talk about that in another PowerPoint presentation as well. And at the end, I have two consonant vowels followed by a vowel sound, and it's really confusing because I'm actually hearing that vowel sound before the L sound, even though we don't know why. So just know that that blah sound is a little bit different than anything else you'll hear. We just count backwards, and then we make our syllable distinction or division from there. And there you have it. You did a great job practicing. And remember to keep practicing with any multi-syllable word that you come across. Keep trying to practice using the rules that we just talked about. You got them. Hi. We've done it. We've gone through multi-syllable words and we've chunked them and broke them down into their vowel-containing word parts, their word rooms, or their syllables. Syllables, as you know, are important when it comes to our word work. Because not only are we taking those complicated and challenging words out of our reading and writing and talking, we are taking each word and breaking it down into the syllable, working with one syllable at a time. At the syllable level, our word work involves the beginning, middle, and ending approach to those syllables. So the first step, of course, is breaking the word down into the syllables we're seeing and working with one syllable at a time. So now you know some of the rules that are used in English to break down words into their vowel-containing word parts. The most essential thing for you to know is that it's all about the vowel sound. Phonics, which this is a part of, is all about the sound. But when it comes to syllable division, it is all about the vowel sounds. Every syllable must have a vowel sound in order to be a syllable. And how many vowel sounds can a syllable have? Only one. So we are looking for the vowel sounds. And we are looking for the graphemes that represent those vowel sounds, and we are underlining them and therefore counting the amount of syllables we have with how many vowel letters or vowel teams, a combination of different letters used to make that vowel sound, we are hearing and seeing. And from there we make our division according to the rules we discussed. So though it seems quite complicated, the more you do it, the less complicated it is. So continue to practice with those challenging words, dividing them into their syllables. Continue to practice with your word work in general, your phonics, and you will see that the more you practice, the better you will get. Learning English is not about perfection. It is about the willingness to practice. And practice, I don't say practice makes perfect. Practice makes learners. And that's what you are. You are learning a second language or a third or fourth language, and a very complicated one to boot. So give yourself a pat on the back for getting to this point. Continue to practice, and we will continue later on with something called primary stress, secondary stress, and schwa when it comes to how do I pronounce those multi-syllable words. But for now, just give yourself credit for getting to this point, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.